Hey guys, it's Minty here, and I just got back from watching the latest It movie. Man, that film's got some pretty darn scary moments in it, I don't mind saying. Seriously, that had some really freaky ass bits in it. If you ever find yourself in Derry, you better look out. You better watch out for Pennywise. He will kill you to death with his giant ass forehead. Seriously, man, that cranium of his is huge. So anyway, with that said, we are going to look into my own little spoiler-free review of the movie to assess some of my thoughts and feelings about the film now that I've come back from watching it. So, let's check it out. Okay, let's start this review off right by talking about the first thing that you guys really want me to talk about, the Pennywise. Yes, indeed, the new Bill Skarsgård Pennywise. Is he any good? Is he scary? And how does he hold up compared to Tim Curry's creepy and memorable rendition? Well, for a start, Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise he's creepy, he's pretty damn scary. He's got a really interesting, creepy, grouchy voice, and he's got some really crazy stuff going on with his eyes. I mean, he does a pretty good job. You can tell that he's trying to do something different to what happened with Tim Curry. He's trying to do something unique. But maybe it's just me, I don't know. I kind of feel like he's playing the part a bit like Heath Ledger's Joker. I just feel like there's a few mannerisms there and the way he says certain things. I don't know. Another problem I had with this rendition of Pennywise, there's lots of shots of him marching and charging at the kids, which is fine, but they use a lot of CGI. This is a very CGI heavy Pennywise. Now let's just go back to the original Tim Curry Pennywise. He was already really creepy and really scary. There was a lot of presence and a lot of command about him. He had a lot of power. Tim Curry didn't need computer graphics to enhance his character. He didn't need digital animation to make him any more scary. He already was scary. So what do I think of the new Pennywise? Well, yeah, he does a good job. He is pretty creepy. There are moments where he generally makes me jump, but he's just not my Tim Curry. At the end of the day, he did the job perfectly. He was icky, he was creepy, he was threatening, he was menacing. Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise is as well, but just not as much. Interestingly enough though, the original 1990 Pennywise still somewhat makes a cameo in this film. I'm not kidding either. Keep your eyes open. They just somehow slip him in there. So now that I've assessed Pennywise, what about the Losers Club? Well, thankfully I can say that the kids were not annoying or obnoxious. I always get worried when I watch a movie and it's child heavy because often in films, child actors are, well, generally rubbish and do come across as being annoying and obnoxious. But no, all the kids here are pretty believable. There's moments when they're sad, there's moments when they're scared, and you generally believe it. Out of all these kids, the one who really stands out is the kid who plays Richie. Man, that kid was hilarious. I'm not gonna lie now. There were moments in the movie where that kid would come out with some of the most funniest, craziest lines ever. That would literally make me LOL. Like, that kid had me laughing throughout the film. I mean, they could have just based the whole movie on him and just made it a comedy and that would have worked. So kudos to that kid who played Richie. He was definitely my favorite. A big problem I have with the kids though is that the Ben and Mike character were pretty non-existent. I kind of felt like they were in the background. Like comparing it to the 1990 miniseries, I feel like we really got to know all those kids. But this time around, I just feel like Ben and Mike could have been written out of the movie and you wouldn't have even noticed. I feel like the writers of the film just didn't really quite know what to do with them, so they're just there. I just felt like I got to know all the other kids, I just didn't get to know them too. Maybe my perception will change the next time I watch the film. Another problem I have, which I think is a bit of a pet peeve, but still bugged me nonetheless, was the two kids who play Bill and Stan, to me, just looked totally the same. They look like twins. There were moments when we're seeing the kids together, and I couldn't really tell the two apart. I don't know, is it just me or do these two kids look like the same freaking kid? Only one has a curly wig on. Once again, it's really is nitpicking, but if there's nits to pick, I will pick those nits. But regardless, it's something that sort of did bug me a bit that they looked kind of identical, but you know, it doesn't take away from the movie. So let's go to my next point, the scares. Was this a scary movie? And how were the scares? And once again, how do they hold up compared to some of the scares in both the book and the 1990 miniseries? Well, this film had some genuinely creepy moments. Like there were some bits that I felt really creeped out and disturbed. There are some really, really creepy moments. One in particular is a woman in a painting. In my opinion, she is more terrifying than Pennywise. This woman in this painting, yeah, that really sort of made me nervous. The gore is turned up. It's much more of a brutal interpretation of It compared to the miniseries. This is the live-action It version that hurts. This is the It version that makes you bleed, where you see gizzards and tons of blood all over the place. It really is a brutal, cold world, this one, and there's lots of gore, along with the profanity. The profanity has been turned up a lot. It's like the filmmakers know they have an R rating, they're gonna turn up the swear words, they're gonna turn up the violence. I mean, you hear the F word a hell of a lot in this film. I mean, it's all over the place. Another thing that's scary, and something that I found as scary as Pennywise, if not even more so, was the adults in this town. Seriously, the grown-ups in Derry are freaking evil and insane. The parents and adults in general in this place are just purely vile and terrible. And I'm not kidding, they were as menacing and as terrifying as Pennywise. All the adults in this town are either psychotic or they're pedophiles. You want to avoid Derry at all costs, not just because of Pennywise, because of the freaky ass grown-ups there, sheesh. And speaking of freaky ass people, I'll just quickly talk about Henry Bowers. Yeah, this kid was nuts. This kid was just terrifying as well. This kid was evil. He was just pure evil. I found him a lot more menacing than the one from the TV movie. And something I like about this rendition of Henry Bowers, unlike the 1990 version, it gives him more of a reason for being evil other than he's just a dick just because. So, with that said, now let's score up the movie as a whole. Well, the thing that makes this movie different from both the miniseries and the book is that now it's set in the 80s, and there's lots of 80s references in there. I mean, if anything, this is actually quite an 80s reference-heavy movie. Like, there's a Gremlins reference, a Beetlejuice reference, there's even a Tim Burton's Batman reference, there's also a Michael Jackson reference. Heck, there's even a Nightmare on Elm Street 5 reference. Yeah, I'm not kidding, a Nightmare on Elm Street 5. I didn't even know that anyone would actually remember that. But above all, there's a ton, and I mean a ton of New Kids on the Block references in this film. There are so many New Kids on the Block references here. I don't know what this filmmaker's thing is with New Kids on the Block, but again, maybe it's just me, but I just felt like there was a lot of New Kids on the Block references in here, and which is strange. All in all, to wrap it up, it's a pretty good movie. It's enjoyable, I had a few scares, I had a good time, but it wasn't epic. It wasn't like this holy monolith of the ultimate scares and thrills that I think that we were all kind of hoping it to be, and that I think it was being built up to be. But that said, it wasn't a badly made movie, it was made quite competently, and you can tell those behind it have a lot of love and respect for the original source material and wanted to make the best of it. So it had good intentions, but it just wasn't that epic spectacle that I think we were all hoping that it would be. But that said, I am really looking forward to part 2. And by the end of the movie, I did think to myself, wow, I can't wait to see where they go with this. So yeah, part 2 is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. It's good, it's fun, it's scary, it's well made. It just wasn't too spectacular. As for the scare factor goes, well, this is where the two movies kind of clash with me. Because I think that the 2017 version is the scarier movie, but I think Tim Curry is the scarier Pennywise. So yeah, if you mismatch the two together, you've probably got the perfect scary movie there somewhere. That said, it's worth going and watching. It's a fairly decent film. I say give it a watch. Just don't expect it to be like the best horror movie ever or this really big epic movie like I think we were all kind of thinking it was going to be. It's still a fairly good film though. So that was my brief look into the new It movie. I hope that you have enjoyed this brief review and it's kind of motivated you as to whether or not you're going to go and see it. I say give it a shot, just don't expect it to be the holy monolith of everything that is great and awesome, and just expect it to be a fairly decent good film. Anyway, I'm Minty, and if you didn't know by now that they all float, then for the last year or so you've been living under a rock. See ya!